Welcome everyone to today's episode of the All Glorious podcast. I'm your host Michelle. This is a Catholic Christian podcast where we talk everything about Jesus. And today I'm so excited because today we're going to be talking about what it means to be grateful. And in today's world, I feel like this is probably one of my favorite topics to talk about with people. And the reason for it is because it's so easy to get carried away with the blessings that God gives us, and we get into a place of wanting more, and we forget to look back and see that we're living in the place that we have been praying about for so long. Let me put this into perspective. So before I met Ryan, so my current fiance, soon to be husband, I was in such a place of like, God, please send me my future husband. God, please send me someone that I can spend my life with. Then I met Ryan. And then once I got into that answered prayer, then I was like, God, I want to be engaged. I began to get into a place where I'm like, oh my God, I want to be married. Girl, you found the love of your life. You're engaged. What's the issue? So we become so used to where we are. We forget, we lose sight of the answered prayers that God gives us, right? The answered prayers that He delivers to us. And we start getting into a place of being, I want more. What I have is not good enough. And today we're talking about this in church, right? And the priest was telling us a story. And I'll try to make it quick. But basically, there was this girl who was around 16, 17 years old. And she was really healthy, but then she eventually found out that she had a malignant brain tumor. And of course, with that news, you're kind of already told, like, you're not going to make it for that long. And unfortunately, she did not make it past a year. But before she passed away, she basically had like this ongoing joke with her dad, who was a huge baseball fan. And she was basically like, because the dad was like a baseball coach, she was like, what do you even tell like the baseball people anyways? And he was like, I don't know, I just support them. And she's like, what do you mean, what do you say? Like, do you tell them, oh, the chicken crosses at midnight? And they just started cracking up at that because it's so ridiculous, right? The chicken crosses at midnight and whatever. So that joke goes on and on. She passes away, and like I said, the dad is a huge baseball fan. He's a coach, whatever. And I'm not a big baseball or like sports person, but from what he was saying, the Marlins supposedly had gotten like this huge championship, and there was the last player who was about, to win the championship, whatever. And that person, like that baseball player, was called Chicken because of the way like he would swing. Like he would be like a little like flimsy or whatever. And he was the one who made the home run, I think, and then he made it, they won the game, whatever. And the brother of the girl who had passed away because she had the brain tumor, he was like, Dad, did you see what happened? And the dad was like, yeah, we won, bro. What do you mean? Like, we won. Of course I saw it. And the kid was like, no, look at the time. And it was midnight. And the baseball player was called Chicken. So the chicken crosses at midnight. And it ended up tying together. And supposedly like the dad has like, either he's a public speaker or as a book or something like that, where he took that as like a sign from his daughter. So all of this to say is just like things that we take for granted here on earth, of like the life that we have with people, our own lives, our health, and these things is just like, we see these things from God as being gifts that we should take care of, that we should be grateful of. And in my case, for example, my relationship, right? Like I was dying to find my other half. I was dying to be engaged, and I'm living the life that I literally had been praying about, that I had been dreaming about. And it's so easy to kind of get comfortable and lose sight of the blessings that God has given us. So it brings us to today's gospel, which is Luke chapter 17, verses 11 to 19. And it's basically 10 lepers or 10 men who had leprosy. And they went to Jesus and they were like, Jesus, heal us, yada, yada, yada. And then Jesus was like, go to the priest and show them. And as they were on their way, like they began their journey to show like the priest, they were healed. And out of the 10, one of them was like, well, they all realized that they were healed, like they were healed of leprosy. And only one of the 10 came back to Jesus, went to their knees, started kissing Jesus's feet, and was like, thank you, thank you, thank you. And Jesus was like, why is it that 1 out of the 10 came back to the person who healed them to give thanks? And then Jesus was like, stand up and go, your faith has saved you. And OMG, this is like something that they usually talk about in Thanksgiving. Like, this is probably like one of the gospels that they talk about a lot, but it's so much to unpack here. One of the biggest things is like I said, the guy who came back, right? It's so easy to lose sight of the blessings and the gifts that we have. Also being thankful for the things that are extraordinary and the ordinary. So let's say, for example, this is something that actually happened, but a family member of mine, okay, let's keep it very vague, but they had like a health scare, and my mom, myself, all of us prayer warriors were praying relentlessly for a miracle. God, please restore their health. God, please don't let this be so bad. And then once like the results came back and, more investigations with the doctor, they were fine. It's just like those extraordinary things where you put your blood, sweat, and tears into prayer to, ask God, like, heal this person or show me a miracle, have this answer prayer. Sometimes we forget about the ordinary things that happen in our lives. Let's say, for example, it's just like things that are normal, where we're walking, using our feet, having our hands, our fingers, our toes, having sight, having our sound, like we're able to hear. These ordinary things that we use in our day-to-day life, the most smallest things that we find to be very, very ordinary, we can take for granted. You don't know if today you're perfectly healthy and tomorrow you wake up and something's wrong. Take a step back and be like, thank you, God. Thank you for giving me these things that are so ordinary to me, but to other people, it would be the most amazing blessing. Like, oh my God. Okay, so there's this girl on social media. Her name is Verena, and I used to watch her all the time. Come to find out, I saw like spreading on the news maybe like a year and a half ago, something like that. And it was basically like this big accident of a motorcycle and a car accident. Like, it was a huge accident. One person had died and the other person was in critical condition. And I was like, that's insane. And then I started reading, what it was about. It was Verena. She was part of that with her friend. Unfortunately, her friend had passed away. But immediately I went to her page, silence. Like, it was just kind of like all of us, like the fans, whatever, we were just like, oh my God, it's like, is this true? And months and months go by, and I think a year goes by. She comes back to social media and she is disabled, and it's insane to see the difference of super, like, perfectly healthy, such a young woman. I think she is either 21, 22. Seeing her last content where she was perfectly healthy, she could speak, that super horrible accident left her disabled. And with that to say, like, she had like I don't know what all the injuries were, but she's disabled. She can't walk. Like, her whole jaw had broken, so she had to have jaw surgery, jaw replacement. I don't know exactly what it was, but she could barely use her arm. Like, she's more functional now. She's, doing her therapy and stuff, but it's just kind of like your life, you don't know when things can change. And something, just to kind of continue from that, something that the priest had mentioned that I found so amazing. He was talking about Adam and Eve. We know the whole story, right? Like, Adam and Eve, first man and woman who God created. The Garden of Eden, they were there, they had everything, they were in paradise, they had everything, and all they had to do was not eat or touch from the forbidden tree. How hard could that be, right? We look back at them and we're just like, you guys had it all. Like, how is it that you guys couldn't do the one thing that God told you not to do? They lost sight of all the blessings that God had given them. So that kind of ties everything together there, where it's just kind of, they lost sight of the blessings, the gratitude. They lost sight of that, and they just began to get curious of what is the grass is greener on the other side type of thing. And that allowed for the enemy to come in the same way that happened to them, and then sin enters the world. We're here now as a consequence for them. The enemy does the same thing to us, where whenever we start to slip away from being in a place of gratefulness and gratitude, that is where the enemy comes in, likes to come and tempt you and, make shift the ideas that are in your head of like, oh, this isn't good enough, your life could be better, all of these lies. Such a loser. The enemy is literally such a loser, but he starts to like pollute your mind with all of these lies. That's where he creeps in and makes you think that you're missing something when you're not. I came from a place of that where it's just like I was getting blessings upon blessings and blessings and more, all my prayers being answered. And the next thing you know, I'm being so ungrateful, and I'm like, oh my God, I wish I could have this, comparing myself to other people. And I'm just I have to take a step back and be like, dude, you're living an answered prayer. Like, what is wrong with you? That's why we should fill ourselves with the word, fill ourselves with what God intends for us, and not losing sight of the blessings that he gives us, and really, really reflecting and taking the time to look at your life, look at everything that you have. Things are gonna happen, stuff happens, life is not easy, it's unfair, I know, it's painful, it hurts, but it doesn't take away the good that is in our life. God uses the things that are bad in our life, so like the bad circumstances, the bad things that happen, he uses that for good. And like I said, in the moment, it's hard to see that. We're so limited to what we can think, what we can imagine for ourselves. Trust in the Lord that he has the most perfect, amazing plan. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be something that you're going to be like, easy breezy, beautiful, clever. No, like life is not easy. That's the life that we have, right? But God uses our circumstances for good. I really, really encourage you to just take a few minutes, or, just set some time aside every single day, whether it be just a minute or two. Reflect on how good your life is. People say not to do it, but compare your life to other people. Look at how much worse your life can be. Honestly, this was advice that I had gotten, and at first I was like, oh, no, my pain is my life could be a million times worse. I live such an amazing, blessed life. God forbid that I get into a place of being so ungrateful that God teaches me a lesson of like, oh yeah, you're being so ungrateful. Let me show you what it is to have a life worse than it is, because I lived that life. I lived a life of living so much worse, having depression, anxiety, OCD, PTSD, all of these mental disorders, living a life that was so bad. God delivering me from all of those mental illnesses. I have nothing to complain about. So that pretty much wraps up today's episode of the All Glory is His podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope that you're able to reflect this week and forever, on all the blessings that God gives you. But may God bless you through this whole entire week. May the Lord give you all the blessings and allow you to see the fruits and the way that He works in your life. But again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you next Wednesday.